What's going on, guys? It's Adam P, and welcome back to more Newcastle United news ahead of the Barcelona match on Thursday. It's almost upon us. FC Barcelona will be in Newcastle tomorrow. Of course, media day, UCL ahead of kickoff. St James's Park will be quite busy. Eddie Howe will be doing his press conference. There'll be one player doing the press conference, and of course, the opposition team will arrive at St James's Park, do their bits of training, just take in the stadium and take in the city just before the game itself. On the channel, we're going to be there, so make sure you get down there and hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Join the 45% of people who are already on that journey, so you don't miss out on upcoming Newcastle United news, and you don't miss out on all the build-up and aftermath ahead of a huge Champions League kickoff game this week. Starting off with the Barcelona game, I can't believe we are still getting updates about the Dundee school, but we actually have a Newcastle United club statement about this Dundee school. There's been a lot that's came out since my last video yesterday, and it started off with an exclusive article from Craig Kobbie confirming that Newcastle United were fully aware that tickets were being resold behind their back. Craig Kobbie actually found emails and he found documents that were able to physically prove that staff members at Newcastle United were fully aware that a private school up in Dundee that was actually selling tickets returned £295. This is a school that costs you upwards of £20,000 just to be able to allow your child to go there. Newcastle were fully aware that these tickets have been sold for 10 years. Back in 2015 they started off, and Craig Kobbie went into a lot of detail in his article. That doesn't look good at all towards staff members and doesn't look good at all towards Newcastle United as a football club. Newcastle United has then issued a club statement, which seems to be somewhat of a reaction, and of course going into further details in the statement itself, going into how this has happened, saying that from 2015 up to the takeover, we've had a structure under Mike Ashley. Of course, back then tickets weren't being sold well. We weren't selling at every single game. So an initiative from Mike Ashley and from Newcastle United at the time was to allow third-party companies to actually sell these coach packages and these trips off to football fans across the country, so they can actually come to St James's Park and Newcastle can earn some money and to be able to get new fans in. Well, under a horrific time where our local fans did not want to go to the games because we were crap, we were unambitious, and we were just horrible to watch. So that was the initiative at the time. And after the takeover, it's just kept going on. And going through the statement, it's been deemed as a major oversight from Newcastle that haven't spotted this, and now they've reacted from hearing it in social media and seeing it in social media. And after reading the statement, I do have to say Newcastle has responded well. They've cancelled the tickets. They've cancelled 103 season tickets. Went into detail about, and they've just spoken and went into a lot of lengths and a lot of information about what's going on here. I've still got some questions and some complaints, I guess. Now, my issue is, if Craig Kobbie did not put an article out yesterday, would Newcastle United have issued a club statement? Would Newcastle United themselves, without all this noise over the past week, would Newcastle United have posted a statement, and would Newcastle United have done something if there wasn't so much drama and so many articles being posted on it? I'm not entirely sure they would. Now, this has been going on for 4 years since the takeover. It's not like, for example, the takeover has just happened, and 6 months later, Newcastle has then realised something's going on. It's been going on for 4 years after the takeover. There's 45 tickets at St James's Park altogether. It's not like the 45 tickets across the stadium. They're all together in a certain area. And for the only be spotted now, you're talking 4 years after the takeover. I don't think Newcastle's been proactive here. That's my issue. I think Newcastle has responded and Newcastle has reacted to seeing and hearing stuff rather than the club themselves discovering something that's been going on, which is evidence to suggest that Newcastle were fully aware this is going on behind the scenes. So my issue is, I don't think Newcastle's done it on their own accord. I think Newcastle's reacted to social media and reacted to Newcastle fans' outrage rather than being proactive, and that's my concern here. And behind the scenes, there's obviously been some staff members that have been fully aware of what's going on and they haven't stopped it. And that's a major issue because Newcastle's terms and conditions, Newcastle's entire ticket structures being broken apart by individuals inside the club. I remember a couple of years ago, I remember Anna quite well, a player that played for Newcastle's women's team. She was out the door going out the football club. She was set to be released from Newcastle United. I remember at the time, she managed to get a hold of Brentford away tickets and then decided to sell them on for stupid amounts of money. The club was brutal on her. You guys were brutal on her. Social media was brutal on her. And yet, behind the scenes the entire time, Newcastle United themselves has then been issuing tickets out. And while it hasn't been for profit, Newcastle have stated in the statement that it's all been for face value. But the point still stands. Newcastle's ticket structure hasn't worked because our own staff members in our own football club is going against our ticket structure. So yeah, it's just not ideal at all, especially for a game like Barcelona. We've got to be on top of stuff like this. If you want to be up there as an elite level club, if you want to be up there as an ambitious club that's going to be challenging for major trophies, like, we have to be better behind the scenes. And for this major oversight to just be going on for 4 years after the takeover, you guys all fairly earn your own tickets watching this video. You all go through the legal ways. You go onto the ballots. You pay for memberships. You pay for match tickets. You pay for hospitality. All of you watching this video, go out of your way and you go through the ticket structure and staff members at this football club. And behind the scenes, there's people not going through their own ticket structure, which is a major problem. I'm hoping Newcastle now has this all sorted out. It's good to see reaction from the club, but would they have been proactive? Would they have done this without all of this noise and social media? I'm not entirely sure they would have, and that's, I guess, my negative from the entire story. I'm still not convinced we had this club statement yesterday if it wasn't for noise from individuals such as Craig Hope, who, to be fair, top journalism, has actually went out of his way, he's found club emails, and he's been someone that's investigated and it's actually prompted a response from Newcastle. Would that have happened without people like Craig Hope? I'm not entirely sure would have, and that's my message going away from this video. We're going to talk about our topics now, but let me know down in the comment section, guys. Do you reckon and do you believe that Newcastle United would have done something about this if it wasn't for all the social media noise from journalists and people such as myself, who of course have highlighted it in YouTube videos like this? As for the Barcelona game, it is now confirmed by several Spanish sources that Lamine Yamal will not be here this week. It was deemed after their 6-0 win that Yamal, it would take a miracle to get back into the team to be able to play against Newcastle. And it's been described from the club themselves. His injury is his injuries around the pubic area. I don't know what's been going on there. I'm not going to question it. I'm not going to ask how that's happened. But yeah, due to an issue around his private area, he's not been able to train or play for Barcelona. I've never quite seen an injury like this one before. But yeah, that's exactly why Yamal's out with the game, because he's actually hurt an area on his body and he won't be able to travel up to Newcastle for the Champions League match. And I've seen a rather mixed response from Newcastle fans. I can't believe, by the way, the amount of Newcastle fans are actually gutted that they can't see Lamar play. Are you mental? I want to win the game, you know. I couldn't care less who's playing against us on Thursday. I want Newcastle to have the best possible chance of winning this game. And I've seen fans that are actually a bit upset that Barca's best player is not playing against us. Are you mad? I want to win the game. I couldn't care less who's in the team at Barcelona. I want Newcastle to go out there and to get 3 points and to actually have a real chance of qualifying for the UCL knockout phase. I couldn't care less who's playing and who's injured. I'm not upset about Yamal being out at all. I want Newcastle to win the game, and I'm going to make sure, and our fans are going to make sure on Thursday we can put everything into this game so Newcastle can win. And this Barcelona, I think towards Newcastle is a bit weird as well. Lewandowski, give an example. We mentioned it in my last video, but this is a player that's been gifted an Alan Shearer top as a kid. Of course, growing up, did the Shearer celebration. He's one of his idols that he looked up to. And even this summer, got Jules Koundé alongside Brian and Bruno. And Bruno's out for dinner. And then Koundé, for whatever reasons, wearing the Newcastle 97 top. I'm going to assume there's Ginola on the back of that. I could imagine that would be his idol at the time. But again, that's even this summer. You got Barcelona players that are just repping Newcastle top. The manager's going into detail about how he can't wait to be working with our staff members, and a real warm and nice response from Barcelona and a lot of pride. And despite the fact Newcastle hasn't been in the Champions League an awful lot, we've got a real history of Barcelona. It's the third time in the third Champions League campaign that we will be playing Barcelona now, and the Bobby Robson history behind it, and how Newcastle were able to have that famous win against them back in '97 with Tino scoring a hat-trick. It's one of them ones where there's a lot of weight going into this game, and I reckon Barcelona deep down know it's going to be a hard match for them, and I think they know as well about opening Champions League game. It's up there. It's up there, especially for a pot four team as well. I reckon Newcastle, out of the pot four teams, is probably the best pot four team there is. So Barcelona, I know they've got a hard draw, and Barcelona, I know they're going to be in for a hard time. I'm looking forward to the game. But for some transfer news, it's now been described by the likes of Talk Sports that Newcastle is keeping tabs on Kobbie Mainoo. Of course, this is a player at Manchester United who wanted to leave on loan this summer. He wanted regular first-team football elsewhere, and in the end, he was not granted that request to be able to move elsewhere. Newcastle continues to keep tabs on him. We've already seen with a new signing like Jacob Ramsey coming in, injured straight away, nasty twist against Leeds, and he's going to be out for at least a month. So I think Newcastle knows, especially with, I reckon Joe Willock has probably got maybe 12 months left in Newcastle. I don't see him staying beyond next summer. I feel like Joe Willock probably is having his last season at the football club now. So Newcastle maybe trying to loan a player like Mainoo in January and potentially sign him in the summer. He's a player I like quite a lot, and he's had a weird career at Manchester United because he sparked up out of nowhere. Of course, scored a huge goal against Manchester City in the FA Cup final and had a real energetic start to his career. And then it's just dipped. He hasn't been able to play that well. I think when you look at Manchester United midfield's awful. And having signed a midfield, which I feel like is odd anyway, because the midfield was terrible last season. And they spent all summer bringing in a front three. But what's the point of the attacking players if the midfield behind it is still crap? They've got a midfield behind it that's offering no support. And especially Benjamin Sesko, the one we've been talking about the most because he hasn't scored in 5 games. What can he do? He's got no confidence and he's got no support. And I feel like the argument against Sesko is if he was playing for Arsenal or he was playing for Newcastle, 2 teams that were linked to side him, would Sesko be in 0 goals after 5 games of those 2 clubs? I don't think he would be. I think he would have scored at Newcastle by now, and I think he would have scored at Arsenal by now. And what does that tell you about Manchester United? He got probably their most ambitious midfielder, just not wanting to be a part of the club at all. So when Newcastle are keeping tabs on Kobbie Mainoo, I'm a big fan of him. I actually reckon he's a really good option for Newcastle if we were able to somehow get him in. I think the issue and the argument against is that he said he wants regular first-team football, and then he could be potentially joining the club that's got one of the best midfields in the league, and he's no way in hell that he'd be starting ahead of those 3 midfielders. But then again, he'll get the cup games, and he's playing for a good football team, so maybe that's just what he wants. Maybe he wants to play under people like Eddie Howe, and you have to say, looking at Eddie Howe the last few years, and when you look, Jacob Ramsey said this well, when you look at players like Cole, Gordon, Livramento, what does that tell any young English player that wants to come into our football club? He's got the best out of those players. Kobbie Mainoo must know deep down he'll get the best out of his own career by playing for Newcastle. And I'll be intrigued to see what happens in January. I think he's a top level side, and I think if Newcastle were able to bring him in on loan, I'll be pleased with him. He's a player that I like quite a lot. But that's about it in terms of this video. Just getting through the news, getting through the information regarding the Barcelona game, of course, addressing the club's statement yesterday. I can't believe we have got a Dundee School Club statement, mental. And Newcastle a Dundee School Club statement. It's just, I can't believe what's going on at the minute. But at least now, that should be the end into this Dundee School thing. We can just forget about it, move on. And hope Newcastle learns as well. We do need to learn them. Actually, when you look into more detail as well, believe it or not, Newcastle is the only English team in the Champions League that is not transparent at all on the ticket structure. They've got no information. They're not telling fans where all the tickets are going. And I feel like, especially when you've got evidence now to suggest that staff members at the club haven't been behaving in the best way, or they've completely overlooked quite a glaring, obvious flaw in the ticket structure, they need to be transparent and have to be open with fans. For us, we need to be communicated to. And I think, especially the ticket structure, in my personal opinion, we should know exactly where all the tickets are going. We should know how the tickets work for away games. We should know how the tickets work for home games. I feel like the club needs to be transparent. It needs to be given out large chunks of information exactly where these tickets are going, because it's showing you out with evidence that things haven't been going so well for them. So I'm hoping Newcastle now learn. I'm hoping fans get communicated to. If fans aren't communicated to, then they start putting accusations out there. And it affects me somewhat as well, because I get accused of quite a lot of things as well. So I get a bit peeved off when Newcastle aren't giving ticket information out, because then the supporters on Twitter, supporters on social media all of a sudden go, well, what about the podcasters? What about the YouTube channels? How come Adam P's going to this game? How come Adam P's going to that game? Listen, I've got enough loyalty points to go to basically every single game, the exception of Union SG and maybe Sunderland. I'm not entirely sure on that one yet. But when Newcastle United's not transparent, when Newcastle United's not dishing out ticket information, it comes back on people like me as well. I've got bugger all to do with this, but fans feel like I'm getting tickets and fans feel like I'm abusing the system or going against the system. I'm not. I've got enough loyalty points. I've been going to Newcastle games for 15 years. I've been going to away games for almost 10 years now. I've been going for a long, long time. And I've been able to build points up before the takeover, which, of course, after the takeover now gives me a bit of a head start over the majority of fans who have either restarted or fans that weren't collecting loyalty points on their own season ticket. So that's how I get to go to games, and I wanted to just have a bit of an ending on that as well. So I get a bit irked off sometimes because when Newcastle United does not dish out ticket information, I get a lot of stick and I get bits of, I guess, abuse and God knows what phone I might as well, even though I've got nothing to do with this ticket structure here. But yeah, Newcastle United, final message from this video. Be transparent. Fans want to know what's going on. Tell them what's going on, because they're the ones that are buying the membership. They're the ones that are buying hospitality packages. And they're the ones that are doing them hours week in and week out to watch our football team play. So this football club, in my opinion, has the responsibility of telling the fans what is going on, communicating correctly, being transparent, and avoiding just a real mess like what's happened last week with this Dundee stuff. So yeah, that's my final message coming out from this video. But appreciate you guys watching. Let me know your opinions down below. Take care, and we will see you all in the next one.